Hey guys, it's David from mdbootstrap.com. Welcome to the second tutorial on how to build admin dashboard. In the previous tutorial we learned how to build a basic dashboard with some charts, Sidenav and Nav Bar. And in this video we're gonna create a new one called traffic dashboard, which is gonna show us some traffic data about our page. We're gonna use some new awesome components like charts you already know, but we're also gonna use tabs component, which allows us to put more content into the same place thanks to switching the tabs. We're also gonna learn how to use inputs, some date pickers, and we're also gonna enhance our Sidenav and Nav Bar from what we've done in the previous version. If you missed the previous tutorial, it's not necessary for you to do it because we're gonna build everything from scratch, but I strongly encourage you to do so you get some basics, because we talked a little bit more on how Sidenav works and things like that, which we're gonna now do very quickly without going much into details. So as I said, this is the second tutorial in a row. We're gonna have more. We're gonna have another admin dashboard, third one. We're also gonna have the full e-commerce tutorial set for you, so how to build the e-commerce sites from scratch. So if you don't want to miss it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, don't forget to turn notification on. And now without further ado, let's get started. So in order to start, obviously we have to download MDB. You can do it in many ways. One of the ways is to go to mdbootstrap.com, navigate to your orders and download MDB as a zip package. If you are MDB CLI user already, just open terminal and type mdb init, choose proper version. We have plenty of them. Today we're gonna use MDB 5 standard version and hit enter. If you don't know what MDB CLI is, please check a description down below. You're gonna find a link to tutorial on what MDB CLI is and how to use it. This tool allows you to quickly initialize new project as well as publish them to the web. So your final project can be deployed with just a single command, just mdb publish, and your page gonna be published to web without any extra configuration. Okay, so we have our project here. Let's rename it to MDB5 admin traffic, and let's open this in Visual Studio Code. I'm gonna be using this one. Let's open this in a live studio, so we have a live preview, and let's get started. So as I said in a previous tutorial, we already went through components like Sidenav and Nav Bar, so let me just quickly rebuild them without going much into details. So obviously what we're gonna need is our docs page. So I'm gonna navigate to MDB5 docs page. This is this Bootstrap icon over here to the right on our side, and let's start with Sidenav. I'm gonna go with a basic example. Obviously I strongly encourage you to check others, as there are plenty of them. So I'm gonna copy this one, I'm gonna paste it into our header. Actually, I'm gonna create this first, so I'm gonna have header and I want to have main part. So let's paste it into header. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna go to mode transition because we want our nav bar to hide on the smaller screen. So I'm gonna get the JavaScript part from this example, Sidenav navigation with the mode transition. I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna get back to our code, go to the script part. Now paste our code. I'm gonna change ID, so this is Sidenav1, and we want to change screen size at which we're gonna collapse, we're gonna hide our Sidenav. Let's have a look whether it works or not. So now when we change screen size, it hides Sidenav as well. Now we're gonna add Nav Bar, so let's go to Nav Bars. Let's get basic example. Let's get basic example. I'm gonna copy this one. Let's add Nav Bar here, comments, so we know where it starts, where it ends. We're gonna add ID to our Nav Bar, main Nav Bar. We're gonna change color from light to white, and we're also gonna add fixed top class to make it fixed, to make our navbar fixed. Now we are going to lay out breakpoints. We're gonna reuse Bootstrap breakpoint to add some styles. So we're gonna use this one, and let's add it on top of our page over here. And we want to add this few queries for main, header, and main navbar. If you don't know why I'm doing this, please check our previous tutorial where everything has been explained. And long story short, we need to push our content 200 pixels from the left margin, because this is the size of our Sidenav. So now this navbar is pushed. Without that, it will be overlapped. It would be covered with Sidenav, so we couldn't see this brand link over here. Okay, finally, what we're gonna do, we're also gonna change style of our body. So I'm gonna add this inline, so style, background color, and set it to FB, FB, FB. So we're gonna give, this is gonna give us some nice contrast, because we're gonna add this cards over here which are white, so we want to have this small contrast over there, so it looks better. Okay, now let's take care of our side nav. So as you can see here, we have this side nav with logo and also with some accordions over here. So let's learn how we can do that. Let's start with logo. So I'm gonna go to docs, get back to side nav, find the one find example with logo. So I'm gonna show you how easy it is, and that you probably gonna find any example you can possibly think of. And the one which we are looking for is here in MDB navigation. Here we have this logo. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna search for this logo part. It's here, and I'm gonna add it to my code like that. Now we have logo over here. Now let's change this links. And by the way, please have a look at this behavior. Now we have this collapses over here, and I'm able to expand both categories, category 1 and category 2. This is one way of doing that. You can you may want to have your menu working like that. Or the other option is to turn accordion on. What accordion means is that, as you can see, as soon as I collapse or expand, actually as soon as I expand one of the section, the other one which was already expanded collapsed automatically. So I'm gonna show you how we can do it. It's very easy. What we have to do is we just need to add another attribute, which is data accordion, and set it to true, and MDB will gonna take care of that for you. Now let's change the content and the icons over here. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. You can go to icons. Here you're gonna find icons, documentation, so how to use it, how to enlarge it, and also you're gonna find this list of all the icons which you can use, and you can search for them. So for example, if I'm gonna look for something like chart, and I'm gonna use, let's say, this chart area, just copy this one. Here you have a code generated, so you can copy entire code, or in our case I just need a icon name, because we already have icons here, and I just need to replace it with the correct icon. One thing to remember is that this these new icons, found also icons, they have these prefixes like FAS, FAR, like here we have FAR, so I also need to change this one for FAS. So if you would wonder why your icon doesn't work, please make sure to check the prefix as well. And let's say it's a website traffic. And let's check. Yeah, now it's changed. So let me quickly change the remaining 2 icons. Okay, it's ready. Now it looks better. Looks more like a real dashboard. So now let's get moved to the Nav Bar part. So let's see what we're gonna do now. We're gonna get rid of this content over here, and we're gonna replace it with a search, and also with this dropdown, which you can see in most of the dashboard, which allows user to navigate through its account or logout. Let's start with something which is invisible at the moment, but as soon as I shrink window, you're gonna see it. So this is this our toggler button, which is visible only on a smaller screen once Sidenav disappears. So once it disappears, we want to have an option to toggle it. So let's do it now. So we're gonna remove everything from our nav bar. So we're gonna have it empty. Now we're gonna get this toggler, which comes from Sidenav code, and put it into our container fluid. We're gonna get rid of this. Okay, let me show you what's going on now. So we have this toggler here. Now it's working fine. We want to get rid of this button primary class, which is gonna change this color to white. And instead, what we're gonna do, we're gonna add shadow 0 to remove shadows, and we're gonna also reset our padding so it looks like that. Our navbar, it's now smaller, but don't worry, as soon as we're gonna fill it with some content, search input, and this avatar, it's gonna take a proper size. What we also gonna do is we also gonna add MR3 for a future, so that our search, which is gonna be here, was placed in a proper place. Okay, now let's enlarge the icon. So in order to do that, we're gonna add FA large. Let's make it bigger, and that's it for now. As far as the design is concerned, what we also want to do now, we want to get rid of this. We want to hide this toggler on a resolution higher than 1400 pixels, and we want to show it only on a smaller. So for that, we're gonna use Flexbox for that, and by adding D block and D XXL none classes, we make it invisible on the large screens and visible on the smaller screens. If you want to learn more about these classes, just go to docs, search for Flexbox, and you're gonna find more information on all these Flexbox features supported by MDB, including alignments, display, and so on and so on. So you can hide elements depending on the screen size. You can make them visible only on a certain screen size. So this is a very useful tool. So let's add the search form to our nav bar. So let's get back to nav bar documentation, and from a subsection forms, let's copy this form here, and let's paste it next to our toggler. Okay, so this is our search. Now, what we want to do, we want to do something opposite. So we want this search to be visible only on large screens, and on the small screens we want to hide it. So we're gonna do that by removing this dflex class and adding two classes, which are dnone, so it stands for display none, and define breakpoint on which we want to hide it. So let's see if that works now. Yeah, as you can see, now they are swapping. Either we have a toggler or a search form. Now the last remaining part is obviously the avatar on the right side. So let's find a proper subsection over here, avatar, And let's copy the example, the sample code from here. So I'm gonna copy this nav bar, this UL list, and let's paste it after a form. Let's check it. It's working fine. However, we're gonna have a small issue over here because since it's aligned to the right edge of the screen, this drop-down is out of our screen, but we can fix it very, very easily. We're just gonna add one class to our drop-down menu, which is called drop-down menu right, and this gonna fix this issue for us. Okay, now when our navigation is ready, let's move to the main part. So let's move to the main section. Let's add container here, which is gonna be our placeholder for what we're gonna do. We also have to add this margin top, so I'm gonna add it inline margin top 58 pixels. This will make sure that our nav bar won't overlap with a main part, so it's giving this margin here. And now let's add some heading here. So I want to have H1 which looks like H3, which is centered, and have some paddings and margins set. Traffic dashboard. Yeah. Okay, now we're gonna be working on a section. So the section is like semantic element. We could be using div obviously, but since HTML5, we should be using more descriptive names. So we're gonna have few sections here. So we have this section with inputs, which allows us to define which time span we want analyze. Then we're gonna have these cards over there. Then we're gonna move to this top section, and we're gonna fill it with some charts, and then we're gonna add some more cards to the right to fulfill the entire content. So let's start with the first section, which is this one with the inputs. So let me create section, and we're gonna go to cards documentation, because you're gonna see that the cards are very, very useful component, which allows us to present different type of content. And we're gonna use this the very basic card. So I'm gonna copy this one here. I'm gonna paste it. Now for now it looks like this, but what we want to do, we just want to get rid of everything. I'm gonna leave just the card body and the card itself. We're also gonna add some paddings here to make sure everything looks good. Then we have proper spacing, and now we're gonna add grid inside our card. So I'm gonna have a row, and I'm gonna have col MD6. So we have two columns with the same size. What we're gonna add in a first column is select. So let's go to select component, and we're gonna use, as you can see, there are many examples as always. We are looking for the one with the label, so customer or user knows what to expect or what this select is meant for. So I'm gonna copy this one and I'm gonna paste it over here. And now let me just quickly adjust options here. So we have today, yesterday, last week, last month, and custom. So the custom means that we're gonna choose the date from a date picker, and let's change the label here. And now we have a date, so customer knows what to do with this select. Now let's fill the second column here with a date picker. So again, let's go to the date picker. We're gonna use a basic example here, although there are many others options. We're gonna go with the basic one. So let's just copy this, paste it here. Okay. And let's see how it works. So it's working fine. Now we want to do some small adjustment over here. Currently, in order to open a date picker, we have to click this icon over here. What we want to do is we want to make this entire input clickable. So as soon as user click on that, we want to see this date picker. So we can do it very easily. What we have to do, we just need to add a new property over here, which is called data toggle, and set it to date picker. And this will make our entire input clickable. And finally, we want to add default value set to something like select a custom date or a date. Now, another very cool feature which I wanted to show you right now about MDB is something called design blocks. So let's have a look at this example in our docs. If you navigate to this section, you're gonna find a lot of predefined blocks over here. You have few sections. Top, where you're gonna find most interesting design blocks from MDB. New, where you're gonna find all the newest one. And trending, which are the most popular blocks used by MDB users. You also have sections like admin block, landing page, so you have different categories. And if we go to admin blocks, you can see that you're gonna find a lot of predefined sections. Also the one which we just built before. I wanted to show you how to do it manually, and now I want to show you that you can easily reuse an existing block predefined and created for you by our team. So you can just go open this block. You're gonna see this in our snippet editor, where you can play with it. You have a live preview over here, so you can play, you can adjust, you can fork it, you can save it as yours, you can show to your friends. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy this one and place it in our project. So let me add a new section over here. And let's paste this block and see the result. Now, what we have to do, we need to add some paddings. So I'm gonna add some padding to, or actually margin to our previous section. So to this one. Yeah, now it looks cool. And if we look at the final design, we want to have 4 cards like this. So I'm just gonna add one more. Let me quickly do that. Obviously, we need to adjust this LG4 and change it to LG3, because we're gonna have 3 cards now. So we are making space for the 4th one. And now let me copy paste or actually duplicate this code over here. So now we have 4, and let's quickly adjust the data to look it more realistic. Something like bounce rate measured in percents, like 30 to 35%. And then we have some drop. We had some drop. Let's say 13. Obviously, I'm giving some random numbers, and this drop was by, let's say, 28%. So now it looks, more realistic. So we have this bounce right here. Okay, now let's move to the next section, which is this one. So we're gonna start with grid. We'll have 8 columns here and 4 columns on the right side. So let's create it. Let's add some margins to this section. We can collapse it. Okay, and let's create a row. Let's create a call, MD4 times 2. This is gonna change to 8, so now we have 2. Now we want to add something which you already know, so we want to have card, and inside the card we want to have card body. And we want to have the structure in both places. So we have these two cards here. They are empty for now. We can close this one. So now let's move to the new component, which is called pills. So here we have different examples. Obviously, you can have different options. You can have vertical pills. So you can imagine already that you can create a lot of different setups for a settings page and so on, or even some chats. We obviously gonna use a basic example here. And paste it to our first card body. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah. Now we are missing one tab, so now let's add this tab and let's have a look at the construction. So as you can see, it's not complicated. We have these allies over here, which are responsible for these buttons over here. And we have also these placeholders here, these divs. We have a different IDs and attributes like this. And here is the content for corresponding tabs. So if you want to add another tab, the fourth one, we want to add another button first. Obviously, we want to change all these values to 4 because it's going to be the fourth tab. And we want to add this extra div. Change it to 4. And let's see if this works now. Yeah, it's working fine. So what we also want to do is we want to make this these tabs over here, these buttons over here, to take the whole width available. We're gonna add that simply by adding a nav justified class to our pills. So let's add it here. Yeah, now it's looking good. Let's change content. So we're gonna have users, page views. Then we have average time, let's say. And bounce rate. Okay, so now it's high time to fill this with data. So in a previous tutorial, I showed you how you can use charts simply by using these HTML attributes. And we also said that this is a very good option for simple charts. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you more advanced options. So how you can create and adjust your charts using a JavaScript option. So let's have a look at this example now. So let's use a line chart, but instead of the data attributes one, we're gonna use this. So we're gonna copy HTML into our first tab. So this is tab 1 content. And let's copy this Java script code. So I'm gonna copy this one and I'm gonna separate it here just in case you use this code. And let's have a look how it looks like. So as you can see, it works pretty much the same as the previous one with the data attributes. But what we're gonna do now, we want to add another set of data and we want to display them in the same chart all together. So how we can do that? What we have to do is just define another data set. So let's call this data set current period. And let's copy paste previous period. And now if we're gonna change, if we're gonna check our screen, you might be a little bit surprised because although the data are the same, you can see the current and the previous are the same. Our chart has option which can either enable or disable overlapping of our charts. So in other words, since we have exactly the same data, this chart, the second line will be invisible, and now this is disabled. So assuming that we don't want that, we can change this configuration, and I'm gonna show you how you can do that. And please keep in mind to always refer to our docs documentation, because this option might change in the future. So by default, it might be already disabled, so you won't have to change it. Anyway, but it's good for you to know, because otherwise, if you just happen to have the same data, you could be surprised. So how to change chart options? Let's go to docs. Let's go to custom options. So here you can see different options. So what we have to do, except for our data object, we can specify options object, where we can set all the different options which you can find in the API. So there are plenty of them. You can change them, adjust them to your needs. So let me show you this example. So we have this option object here, and then we just pass this option object to our initialization code. So let me just copy this one. We're gonna use this as example. Let's add it over here. Now what we want to do, we don't need this X. We just want to set Y, and what we want to change for this is something called stacked, and set it to false. Let's change the name to something like users chart options, because we're gonna have more. And now let's pass this attribute here. And now you can see that there is no issue anymore. Let's also adjust a little bit the way data are displayed, because now they are a little bit different. We have this grayish zone, and then we have this blue line. So let's work on that. We can define all the settings in the data set. So you can change options like background color and set it to, for example, I have something prepared. So let's see how it looks like. Now we change it. So there is no background color anymore. We can add border color to, I choose this one. Yeah. So let me just go through other settings like border width, point borders color, point background colors, and so on and so on. And now, because we have the same data set, we have two lines exactly at the same place. So let's also change this one. So let's replace this data and these numbers with something like that. And this will generate this nice multi-line chart for us. So now let me quickly add remaining charts. It's gonna be exactly the same, so I will be doing this with use of JavaScript. So let me quickly do that now. Okay, so I just added remaining charts. So now it looks like this. So let's take care of the last remaining part of a chart on the right side. We're gonna use a pie chart over here. So we're gonna need two cards like this. So let's do it now. We're gonna add heading here. We're gonna duplicate this card and set previous period. So now let's add two pie charts here. Pie chart. So the first one is current, second one is previous, now let's get JavaScript part. Pie chart current. Yeah, and now let's adjust the data and duplicate it to the previous period. So I did it before, so let me just replace it. And now our chart is ready. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you find using MDB easy. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them. We have a Facebook group. You're gonna find the link in the description down below. So please do not hesitate to join our group and ask any questions which may come to your mind. If you finish this tutorial, please also do not hesitate to post it and share with the others. And if you don't want to miss next tutorial where we're gonna build a dashboard to maintain users and orders, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn notification on. And for today, that's it. As I said, we're gonna have more coming, so please stay tuned and we're gonna see each other in the next video.